So, Mr. Cage, welcome back to Lucas Tigers and Bronze. I wouldn't normally hit record here like this, but Cage posted to his story what I think is just egregious. It's ridiculous to post something like this to his story. Welcome back to Lucas Tigers and Bronze. Thank you to our good friend Jimmy Guns.
What did I do? Yeah, Jimmy Guns.
Thank you to Jimmy Guns. He gave us a shout out on Twitter. Jimmy Guns is someone who used to kind of like host, or maybe still does, host a live show on Saturday evenings. Yep. We had him on the show maybe like 2021, and he sent us some really, really nice remarks, and a lot of his fans came to follow. So thank you.
Hobby Twitter's fun, man. They're all about like you, like giving flowers. There's a lot more like, hey, shout out these guys, keep the shout out train going and stuff like that. And sometimes that bug bites me. Like the positivity bug. I post some stuff on my story.
How often does it bite you? Like if once every 7 days, like on a 7-day basis, like how many times?
Yeah, a couple times a week. You'll see it in my posts, right? Like like the one that I posted about, like keep doing what you're doing. You never know who's being inspired by you, who's watching your journey, like that kind of stuff. Which sometimes people need to hear. I sent that to people that I watch who might not know that I'm watching, don't see me hit the little like on their, their posts. Mike Vinegar, who was doing the, get outside and play with the kids. Mama Breaks and all the craziness that she's doing all the time. Our own Jordan Ferrone and 57 straight days with the ice bath, his birthday today. I mean, he doesn't know that I'm –
Keep going. You're on a roll. Who else?
I'm tuned in. I tagged a bunch of people with it, but I sent it to Mark Mader. He's always got some cool, inspirational quotes on his thing. I think I sent it to you. You never know who's watching you. I get messages all the time about, how I'm mean to you and that I should be nice to you. People
Did you send one to Panini America saying, just keep trying, you never know who's watching?
So it's funny. It's funny. You and Miles, LAFC Gooner, are in lockstep on this one. Lockstep. And maybe
they make 100 mistakes in 30 days, and then one of the mistakes they correct, and we act like they're noble.
So did I act like they're noble, or did I just say that the retraction sometimes of the story that gets a lot of views sometimes doesn't even get printed, right? And it's not even a retraction. It's a, look, it was fodder. Literally everyone who has a sports card account, everyone who has a sports card account. Everybody who has a sports card account posted that. It was everywhere. It's
egregious.
Like you couldn't post. Look at what they did. Babe Ruth and there's a George Brett autograph in it. They were even cardboard even posted. What should be done with this? Then there was the post of like the fake one, right? The photoshopped version of it where Babe Ruth was found on a different card and the whole. So I listen. Did my story post about Panini say all is forgiven, everything Panini does is great? No. What it said is that we have a knack as people, myself included, to be very quick to take shots at people, knock people down. And we don't often take any time to show sort of like the let's call it the fix. Now, did Panini fix all of their redemption issues? No. Did they fix all of their quality control issues? No. But this one thing with this one person who got a George Brett autograph instead of a Babe Ruth autograph, for that one person, the story has a conclusion that I think that one consumer is happy with. And if you've taught me nothing else, it's focus on who your actual customer is and one by one try to make sure that you're providing value for each one of those customers and build on that. That is my Andrewism. That is what I would put on your tombstone. So for you to come at me and say I shouldn't be doing this, it's almost it's scary because I want to make sure you hold that still sacred, right? They can't fix all their problems, but I'm not giving them flowers. Let's at least let people know that for this one very visible one, they did fix. Is that horrible? And by the way, we're not paid $1 by Panini. I will tell you, I have a Panini redemption that my son opened and a Topps redemption. We opened basically like a week apart. One of them was from this year's Topps. It was a Ken Griffey Jr. autograph, like an 87 All-Star autograph, like it's cool, like the wood border, like All-Star card with, Griffey signing. And then the week after or 2 weeks after, he opened up a box of Panini, what is it, like 3 and 2, whatever the baseball version of 1 and 1 is, 2 and 3, whatever it is. And he got a dual autograph of Soto and Acuna redemption. They put the redemption in a one-touch. I mean, it's like, what? And the one-touch cracked. And we had to. So I put the codes in the same day. My Topps one has already shipped. The Panini one I may never get, but the Topps one has already shipped. It took like 2 weeks.
Did you see the dual logo man was pulled in Asia? I think in China, where it was Curry and Luka.
Oh, that's cool though.
You didn't see that?
Oh,
yeah. So a dual logo man was pulled out in Asia. It was Curry and Luka, and it was celebrated. Like, this is such a big deal. But the first thing that kind of comes to my mind, my stomach sinks, is do you think that it's guaranteed that they're going to get
it was a redemption that was pulled. Oh, yeah. No.
Do you think a redemption of that card is already made?
You would like to think that they'll find a way to make sure that does get made if it's not made already. You got to find a way to take care of that one, especially with it can't be that hard to make these things. I mean, an autograph of Soto and Acuna. Panini's got to make sure they get an autograph of Soto and Acuna. A dual logo man of Curry and LeBron. They literally can send somebody out to Dick's right now. Luka. They can send someone to Dick's right now. They can get Kelly Oubre to send them 2 jerseys and put that in the card for Luka and Steph Curry, because it doesn't necessarily say. I mean, the back of the card is going to say it's not tied to any player, event, or anything.
To get it signed, though.
Is it so? Some logo men are not. So it's a logo man dual autograph. Some logo men are not signed.
That's a good question. I don't know So we live in just what I, in my 33 years, think is the craziest time. So first off, thoughts and prayers to anyone in Turkey, anyone who's from Turkey. See a huge earthquake, terrible.
Yeah.
I have never seen politics and sports be so intermingled.
Really?
I don't know if you saw this. I haven't, but maybe you'll tell me about a time when you were growing up where Muhammad Ali, stood up against.
When I grew up and they invented the printing press.
Correct. Or Gutenberg or Kareem Abdul.
Hey!
But stay with me. So maybe like 2 weeks ago, the mayor of Cincinnati came out and started
I saw that.
trash talking the Chiefs. Today, the mayor of New York City came out and said, he would trade Kyrie to the best team or the best city out there because they would instantly start beating them once he arrived. Now, this is someone, Kyrie, who is as polarizing an athlete as I remember in my day. What are your thoughts on the Kyrie situation? On the
politician stuff? Let me start with the politicians.
Sure.
In 3rd grade, Joe Gagliardi won class president in PS42. Right? And do you know what he won on? He won on the platform of, I am going to make chocolate milk come out of the water fountains. And in 3rd grade, we all thought that was the greatest thing, so we had to vote for him. Chocolate milk from the water fountains. None of us stopped for a second to think, as 8-year-olds, that there was no way that this could actually ever happen. And clearly it wasn't going to happen, but it didn't matter because that was what was promised. There was going to be chocolate milk coming out of the water fountains. Now, let's play that out. Kyrie Irving,
it would be almond chocolate milk.
Oh, yeah. It would be lactose intolerant. It would be bad. The school would not allow that campaign promise today. 100%. You're right. See that? You gotta love it. You're sort of a millennial. You speak for them. You speak for them.
The avocado toast and kombucha. Neither group accepts me. Neither group has.
They should both be fighting for you. So let me say this, right? It's a brilliant political strategy. How many people from Buffalo or from Kansas City, right? Because it was Buffalo first, then Kansas. How many people from Kansas City are going to vote in the next Cincinnati mayoral election? 0, right? So he's pandering to his base. He's promising chocolate milk from the water fountain. He's riling up the troops. He's a Cincinnati fan. The people are like, yeah, that's our mayor. That's great. Good for him. Now, same thing in New York. Kyrie is sort of like a hated man here. He's somebody happy to get rid of,
But we don't even know why he's hated. So,
because in 3.5 years of that super team that was there may not have been a bigger disappointment in sports history. When you combine KD, Harden, and Kyrie with 3.5 years, and they have one playoff series victory? One?
Are we putting that all on Kyrie?
Kyrie was the leader, but no, I think you can't put it all on Kyrie. I think KD gets a lot of the blame also. Yeah.
Let's assign blame. How much of it goes to Steve Nash, the coach?
Very little, because I think the players had control over who the coach was, how long he was there, when he was hired, and when he was fired.
How much blame does the GM and the owner get?
Some.
How much does KD get? Zero. Zilch.
I think
Nada.
KD and Kyrie are going to split whatever's left. 40% each and another 20% to go around for the other ones.
Do you assign blame because of Kyrie missing time with the vaccine?
No, not at all.
Okay. No. Is Kyrie hated because of that? Because I think part of the reason is because he sat out, what was it, 3-4 months for the vaccine?
I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who hold that against him, but I'm sure there's also people out there who give him credit for that and say that he is more of like a hero for that. I think probably a lot less, but sure.
If you guys remember, Kyrie decided he didn't want to take the vaccine. In New York City, they mandated the vaccine so you couldn't come to work without the vaccine. And Steve Nash said, we're not going to have him just play away games, so he's not playing at all. That was 4 or 5 months until the mandate was lifted. Now, if you look at just culturally at Twitter, whatever, it's completely flipped the narrative, and now it's like good on the people who didn't take the vaccine. It's chaos. Who knows what's right? It's probably more than likely somewhere in the middle. Second thing is the tweet for the anti-Semitism, right?
Yeah, that was.
Those are the two things that we hate this guy for, because he tweeted an Amazon Prime video and because he didn't want to take a vaccine.
Well, I mean, listen, it's what gets out there, right? I mean, I think the writing was on the wall for Kyrie. People knew he wasn't going to be here for a long period of time, and it's what goes out there. It's you talked about a similar thing with Deshaun Watson, right? And the ownership of his team, not standing by him at the time, and you can paint however it is in the in the eye. Obviously, that's a different factual scenario, but I mean, Kyrie didn't win, and Kyrie has left destruction.
Kyrie
in his
did
path.
win.
No, Kyrie
won. Him and LeBron won probably one of the best
and go from there, right? So Kyrie,
championships of all time. They beat
the 2017 team. The 2017 Cavs team was a super team that they just happened to run into. That was the best team LeBron had. That's what I would say. And they ran into a buzzsaw of Golden State, and Kyrie forced his way out. Now, people forget this. When Kyrie was in Boston, it wasn't the Jaylen Brown that we see today, but it was Tatum, Brown, and Kyrie on that team.
It was a weird mix.
Right? I mean,
those three players could never. They're all
now they're here.
Guards.
Now they're here, and I mean, 3.5 years, they got nothing for this. And KD's probably on his way out now too, and he's going to go to Dallas. What do you think about Dallas? You think that's going to work all of a sudden? Kyrie's going to work?
It's a huge double standard the way we painted Ben Simmons, and then we have Kyrie who plays. He plays at a high level, but he has principles and standards that he stands by. You might agree or disagree with him. To paint him like he's a bad teammate, no single player who's played with him has said he's a bad teammate.
Well, no one's saying he's a bad teammate. He doesn's win, and it's a bad fit, right? I mean, he forced his way out of Cleveland. He forced his way out of Boston. Yeah, okay, but since then, it's basically the better part of a decade now, right? And he hasn't won, and he's a cancer in the clubhouse. Teammate, no teammate. He's bad for the owners. It's bad for the team. Look what's happened. He's left destruction in his wake. 3.5 years here in Brooklyn, man. And I know you want to say he's not Ben Simmons, but yeah, he takes a lot of the blame here, right? This was the team they tried to build. They tried to build a super team here, and it was a failure. A failure.
What about Harden being out of shape? Harden out of shape?
So Harden was out of shape, but it was KD and Kyrie who wanted to bring Harden in. That was on them. Those were the guys who wanted the team to bring Harden in, whether he was in shape, not in shape. And I know you can gloss over Boston all you want, but let's not say that Boston fans love Kyrie. They were thrilled to get rid of him also. And it wasn't because he posted Amazon. It wasn't because he took the vaccine, because none of that happened in Boston. And the same shit, he ran out of there with his head up his ass. Not because of Amazon and not because of a vaccine. Now, I know there's a narrative there, but let's paint both sides of the picture here. Right? I mean, I'm sure the vaccine and all the stuff, I'm sure that has something to do with it now. I'm sure he's being painted some sort of way. But the dude's been a problem. He's been a problem for a while, way before COVID.
So my argument is such that he is painted as a problem, but insiders, his teammates, have never actually supported that argument. And I would say that, just chill, media paints him as this heel, as this problem, as he leaves a wake everywhere he goes. And the reality is, I don't think that is true. Now, I don't think he's going to be a good fit on the Mavs, but I also don't understand this double standard that we have towards Kyrie that we don't apply to any other player. And we make him out like he's this huge villain. The joke that the earth is flat. Like, are people not entitled to believe what they believe without being this evil person?
Do you think that
And
the TD Garden chance of Kyrie sucks, that they were raining down Kyrie sucks on him because he thought the earth was flat? I mean, he legitimately was public enemy number one in Boston, right? I mean, it was just
oil and water. That was a young team, and he was a vet that wanted to win and have a lot of the ball. So Tatum and Brown and Smart couldn't develop. That team was in no man's land. That's not on Kyrie.
I mean, I get you, man. He went back there in Brooklyn, and I mean, got fined. Was throwing a tirade. I mean, it was just to me, yes, there is a narrative to spin that he is being unfairly portrayed because of all these things that he does, right? And I mean, you could definitely make that argument. Why is it that nobody else has all of this stuff combined in the league? Why is it that no one else? The earth is flat, right? There are other flat earthers in the league, right? But those flat earthers probably didn't also have the vaccine drama, right? You can lay it right the other way. There are other vaccine drama players, but they're also not flat earthers. And then there's probably not another player in the league, even if you find another one that has two of those things, that tweeted an Amazon thing, which was misconstrued, and then add on to that, has basically forced himself out of several situations over the last 6 or 7 years, very publicly making demands to move me, demands to bring in this person, demands to do this one. I mean, listen, I think he thrives on it. Not to mention the fact that he didn't play and it was because of the vaccine. That's fine. But this is the year where it's his walk year and it's his money year. And you know me, I say this all the time, bet on the guy with the money. He's having a great year. I mean, his stats are great. He's averaging 27 and change, 5-5, basically. He's put the team on his back, and, while Durant's injured, he's playing strong. Also, he's no longer managing Harden and KD's load during this year. I mean, there's no load management. I think he's missed 3 games. Right? I think he's playing.
They could have thought of a better name for
all of a sudden.
That,
no, I'm glad they named it that. It provides a childish joke for me almost every episode. But you understand what I'm saying. I mean, this is a guy who, yes, is he unfairly painted? Sure. He's also very hard to root for. I'll take the vaccine out also. I take all the other things out. He's not somebody that I want to see succeed, and that sucks because I like Luka. He's a little whiny. He's got some rough edges to him also, but I want Luka to succeed, and I will root less for Dallas because of this addition of Kyrie. And I have nothing wrong with Kyrie. My son loves Kyrie. Kyrie has great shoes.
I think we've just hit the crux of it. And Cage, you've used this a few times, and I actually love this line. And there probably goes into it. We could talk about that. You guys could leave comments. He's tough to root for. Mm-hmm. Or you love to root for the guy, right? And I think in a lot of ways, card prices fall into this category more than a lot of others.
Yeah. I say this about you all the time. Some people play hard to get. You play hard to want.
I agree. I've never been a Kyrie fan, but I can empathize because I actually think I'm a hard person to root for. And it's not anything I consciously do. It's just at the end of the day, we are all wired with different kind of, genes. DNA,
listen, I love
personality
the topic
from birth.
Because, Kyrie is one of those guys. There are a lot of things to talk about with Kyrie. And I'm sure he is. Look, the amount of hate he gets, the amount of negative press he gets, he wouldn't get it if it wasn't for all the ancillary things you're bringing up. I will concede that 100%. He's unfairly, it is heaped on extra because of all that stuff. I would be an idiot to try to argue against that.
It's true. What's hilarious, and I'll have a fun little thing for you guys to put in the comments. Give me your top 3 or top 5 players of all time to root for, and then the top 5 or 3 players that you wanted to root against. Someone that comes to mind that people wanted to root for, I could be wrong. I could be looking at, I think Dennis Rodman is hilarious because people want to root for Dennis, even though he's the weirdest dude ever.
Yeah.
Ever. But people wanted to root for him. There's
the
something
tough
about
guy
it.
fighters, the guys who get in scraps, people want to root for them. A good example is Ron Artest. You know what I mean? People like Ron Artest, man, and it's against all odds because he's. It's funny. He was mentioned in the movie Hustle. I finally watched it, the Adam Sandler one. I watched it this weekend. Finally, good movie. I watched it with my whole family, even my daughter.
Even the women.
Yeah. Even my daughter enjoyed it, which is hard because she's 13. You wouldn't think she would. She enjoyed it, and
she likes that the Dragon Ball Z. What is
no,
anime? Is that what it's called?
I think she's beyond that now. She's into biopics. She's into biopics, like the Rocket Man, Elton John one, like movies about people. She saw the Whitney Houston one recently. Like biopics,
documentaries.
Yeah, I mean, if they're about the specific person, they call it a biopic. But yeah, documentary, basically. Okay. Sure.
Oh, biography, but in a movie form.
Yes,
gotcha.
A biopic, exactly. So,
it should be a flick. No?
They mentioned our test because they were saying, remember how the kid was being painted, Bo, the lead, Hernan Gomez, was being painted as like tough kid from a tough city, and now he's a fighter, and he's got this all charge. And Kenny Smith, Leon, the character who's playing, was like, just like, but run our test. Run our test. Don't worry, run our test. He overcame that. He fought all of Detroit, and people rooting for him these days. So I mean,
started smoking the ganja. That's how he got over
Kyrie,
it. Him and Mike Tyson.
I'll root for Kyrie. We tear him down. He's sort of like Panini. We tear him down, and every once in a while, we just want something good. We just want something nice. Can I get flowers? Do you like this? Do you like this shirt? I'm a UFC champion. It's a champion club. I got this. Okay. I got this from Dapper because I own a champion moment in UFC Strike. I'm part of the champion club. Which pretty cool, right?
They could have done a better shirt.
Dude, this is a nice shirt.
It's a black shirt with look. I would never have thought that was Dapper. I would have never thought that.
This is what the UFC champions, they wear the black with the gold. This is like when the champs walk out, the black and gold walk out gear. This is what the fight
champ is here.
Yeah, pretty much for UFC champs. You watch a UFC event.
What's your moment? Cool. What's the championship moment you own?
So UFC Strike sewn into that, kind of cool. It's Glover Teixeira, who just lost in a championship fight. He just lost, recently, like a couple weeks ago. But it's all right. I pulled it out of the pack.
Is that right?
That's pretty cool. Yeah, like the first packs. I pulled it out, and I'm just gonna hang on to it. I'm gonna see what this champion club gets me, and I got a shirt. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that so far. I got a shirt.
So you want to give flowers to UFC Strike and?
Yeah, I mean it's just I got a shirt on, so there's the flowers. There's the stuff. Do we have anything else to announce? It's 22 minutes in.
Nah.
No, I was ready to announce something.
Yeah, you just want to announce stuff. I
can't announce it. I can't. We got big news for our audience.
Is that right?
Can I announce it?
Sure. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Really?
No clue.
All right, well, then we'll have to talk. This is why normally when I come on, we could talk for 30 seconds and figure out what we're going to talk about, and you hit record, and then we don't talk about it.
It's a big weekend. We could preview the football game, the Super Bowl, but when you saw do you have any topics, any thoughts, any opinions?
I had one, because we're not going to be talking about it now. No, listen, do I have any topics? Sure. Tom Brady has turned the page on football and is now posing in his underwear. I'm sure you sent me the picture. It was blown up. Very weird when you sent it to me. So that's
that was in response to a bet. It was like a tweet that if it went viral, he would also do that post.
Yeah, from the Brady brand. Yes. So that's an interesting little fun thing there.
I get a little jealous.
Of me? Don't do that.
I've always wanted a beachfront house. Like I don't want a lot in my life, and maybe that to a lot of people is a lot, but like in that picture, there's like the ocean, and I think he lives in Miami. I think people are like selling sand, so I'm pretty sure he lives in Miami. But like the ocean view right as you wake up, to me, that like I've never been a Ferrari or like Lamborghini guy. Like that was never my dream. But that view, I was like, man, like that one day, that's the dream.
Buy in Dubai. You can buy ocean view in Dubai, like small place in Dubai. It's not that much money.
Okay, give me a sec. Let me write that down. Just so I don't forget.
Go ahead,
buy in Dubai. Great idea.
Ahead,
Any other brilliant? Is that financial advice?
Use that crypto. You've been in Bitcoin since 2012. We all know you got it like that.
If I bought Bitcoin at Jumio and died, my family would literally have beachfront property.
We all know you bought Bitcoin. 2012 Bitcoin, 2013 Bitcoin. You have to be in it so cheap. You have to be basically independently wealthy. You're an enigma, man. People want to know. Inquiring minds want to know how much Bitcoin do you have? 1,000? You were paying for pizza with Bitcoin, weren't you?
Yeah. Don't follow my path, ladies and gentlemen. It will lead you to sitting every single day and doing video talks.
We have the whole week to talk about NFL. We have the week to talk about Super Bowl. I'm excited about that. I will say that the Pro Bowl, while while an interesting format, is something that they should just completely do away with. Nobody wants to see these people play flag football. It's kind of silly.
Is the Pro Bowl for fans?
I don't know who's it for if it's not for fans. TV ratings? I mean, what's it for?
So I don't know if you ever feel this, but like, especially now at this age, it's tough to like. There's stuff I miss doing as a kid that like I don't really do now. Like capture the flag is one of those things that we used to do growing up right in our neighborhood. And that sounds silly, but like
it sure does.
It was one of the most fun things.
You want to play capture the flag now?
It seems weird. Like think about even how you word that, or hide and seek. Like you think about all these like games that we would play as a kids. But yeah, capture a flag, manhunt, paintball. This to me was a way for the players to kind of revisit their youth and why they love the game. It wasn't for the fans. To me, it was more for the players.
Really?
Yeah.
You think they did it for the players? All right. Guys,
did you ever play backyard football with your buddies?
Of course, but I didn't play football for a living at the highest level possible and be able to play a child's game for the entire year and then say, all right, you know what I want for me? I want to go play that child's game, but not the way I do it, not with pads. I'll play with flags.
Well, no. Football isn't a child's game. These are cars running into each other. It's a very physical game, a very demanding game. Yeah. If you think about it, like the way you practice playing soccer growing up and the way you practice it even in college, they're night and day. When you play growing up, you're playing backyard soccer. Most of the 90% of the practice is playing. As you get older, when you play the child's game older, it's watching film, is going through drills. It's working on the nitty-gritty stuff that you almost hate to become better so that you can win.
So you enjoyed the format?
I didn't enjoy it, but I remember that not everything was – I'm not sure that the goal of the Pro Bowl was for more viewership. I thought it was cool for the players. I thought that they enjoyed it. Obviously not everyone, but I think a lot of the players enjoyed it. Like dodgeball is fun.
I think it's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life, what they did.
I don't think it's for you. And if you say that the Pro Bowl should be for the fans, maybe the format should be different and you would come up with some ideas for the format.
But if it's not for me, the whole point of these all-star showcases is it's TV viewership. It's revenue dollars. It's the whole 9 yards. So if it's for them, don't put it on television. I mean, I would tell you ESPN probably would not like your analysis of this. And it's like, hey, you did a great job of putting together a skills competition that the players enjoyed, but whoa, it was unwatchable. I'm sure that the people who are advertising for that are thrilled with that analysis.
I understand the argument.
So anyway, I think it's kind of silly.
But I think it's also silly to pander to advertisers all the time, too.
I agree with that, 100%.
Like, don't you just want the content to be the content? Like, I'll give you an example.
It sounds like you're talking about something else now.
No, 100%. Like, because I knew the Pro Bowl, like, a lot of people are like, this is silly and goofy. Like, why would you ever do this? Who wants to watch this?
Yep.
But then I put myself in the position of a player. It's like, this is just fun. Like, it's just get to bring my kids, the family. It's like a day in the park, and we get to play dodgeball, meet the other players, play a flag football game, a fun little competition. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of cool for the player. For me as a viewer, I wouldn't watch it.
Correct. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I'm sure that when they used to have the Pro Bowl in Hawaii and have their families on the beach in Hawaii and have all that stuff and meet the other players and hang out, I'm sure the players enjoyed that too, but nobody watched that either. Football.
Wait, where was this at? This wasn't Hawaii?
This was in Vegas. Las Vegas.
Yeah, I would go Hawaii for it.
The interesting thing about it is I don't know how you make the NFL All-Star game.
Right.
Because it's going to be in season, sort of. You know, you can't get – right now we're all saying how the great quarterback matchup of Hurts and Mahomes, 1 and 2 for the MVP race basically, and yet your all-star game is not going to be able to showcase them because they have a game this week. You can't do it in the middle of the year because, no one's going to allow their great players to go out there and get hurt because it is, like you said, a very contact sport. You know, it's two cars smashing into each other basically. And if you try to do it – go ahead.
And even if not, like just routes and cutting – you never know when someone could just blow out their knee, even like doing stuff. So it's like, why?
Tyreek Hill got blown up. He got trucked trying to score a touchdown. he got hit hard
from that.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
Shoulder.
I'm sure he'll be fine. But he got in an All-Star game. He got blown up. It's like it was weird to see because it was almost like like imagine seeing defense in the NBA All-Star game. Like it's just something you
Jalen
don't expect
Ramsey's
to
only
see.
good tackle of the year. Yeah, he saved it for the Pro Bowl.
Pretty much. So anyway, that's a sporting event that was this weekend. I'd like to say that the Knicks, who I watch a little bit of, are just a really weird team. In the last week or so, they beat and the NBA is weird, right? The NBA is one of these things where it's weird. There are times where you have a super team, whether it's Golden State is going to win and they're going to go out there and win every game, or I watch the Bulls go out there and win every game, and you just do. That's a good team. They're going to win. I watched the Knicks beat the Celtics, and I watched the Knicks just beat Philly after being down by 21, come back and win by 11. But also in the same week, I watched them lose to the Lakers, and then the Lakers followed that up by losing to a New Orleans team that had lost 15 of their last 18. So, I mean, it's just weird. Like, a team can beat any team. I mean, we talk about parity in the league. We really have seen it tremendously this year. And, I mean...
More than any other year, I agree. It's crazy. My theory is twofold. Scheduling is a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, when the Bulls played, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I imagine it was probably like 60 to 70 possessions a game. Okay? So like 15 to, let's say, even max 20 per quarter. Now they're putting up 100 possessions a game.
Yeah.
What that changes, Cage, if you look at the plus minus of that Knicks-Sixers game from last night, it's the Sixers starters dominated, but then the Sixers bench looked terrible.
This is what we talked about, remember? The game.
Basically, you have two units. You have two different teams. Your main guys will probably get, 60, 70 possessions a game, but you still have 30 to 35, 40 possessions that your second team gets. And that's a lot of possessions. So it really is. The NBA has changed dramatically just by increasing that possessions.
This is what we talked about, right? Like there's that moment there, that second third of each half where there's a couple minutes left in the first quarter up until, the first few minutes of the second quarter where it's our second team against your second team. And there's always a run. You know what I mean? It's very odd. And you're right. I mean, you don't see starters playing the whole game. I guess it's because there's more possessions, because even though it's the same amount of minutes, there's a lot more possessions.
I think coaching now is more. I think coaching now is very interesting in the NBA. I think because it's not just about putting all of your best guys out in the beginning. It's about understanding different skills, different competencies, and being able to figure out who plays well with who. Like, I think Doc Rivers is one of the worst at that, actually. So I think Steve Kerr, even though he hasn't had success this year, is always willing to kind of work and change. He even made a comment how he's going big now with Kevon Looney and Draymond Green. We can talk about Curry injury.
Yeah, he's out for a while.
A lot of that falls, like, Eric Spoelstra is a great example. That team is dirt poop, just terrible. And he's able to find ways to put that team in a position to win by how he staggers his rotations and how he puts his guys in position to succeed. You know, the Heat have 10 undrafted players on their roster.
Wow.
10 This isn't the NFL. This is that's insane.
That's a lot.
And they're in sixth place. Maybe
a lot of parity there. Yeah, I mean, that changes all the time. But yeah, don't hold them to it if it's 7th or 5th or whatever it is. That's pretty nuts, man. NBA is going to be fun. We got the All-Star break coming up on that one right after the Super Bowl. Fun February. We got Burbank show coming up this week, I guess. I know, we can talk to Black Jada Wolf after that and talk about that show and how it goes. I know Beckett is going to be grading on site there in Burbank, so that's an interesting thing. If you're bringing your cards, you can get your stuff graded on site, which is usually like a national thing, right? Usually national only type thing. Try to think what the heck else we have going on in the world. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. PWCC auction is extended, so if you're listening to this at like 8, 9 o'clock, you can still get your bids in. As a matter of fact, even if you're listening at 10 o'clock, I think you could still bid. They changed their rules on extended bidding, so you don't have to get a placeholder bid in. You can still get a bid in.
Did you end up getting the LeBron game worn jersey from SCP?
I did not.
You check it out.
It went for about double what we were talking about, but it still went for about 10. But I'll tell you why. So I emailed the authenticator, and they emailed me back. I could read you the email if you like.
Yeah.
But they made it pretty clear to me that I don't want to say be careful about it. Hold on, I'll pull up the email. Go ahead, set that up.
We've talked basically, if we have core pillars of this podcast, one of them is look for deals in, I'm going to say, legacy auction houses. The auction houses have been around for a long time. The REAs, the SCP. You could name, what else? There's Mile High is another auction house. Cage has like a list of these.
Yeah.
And there was a game
Huggins and Scott.
Huggins and Scott.
There's a whole bunch of them.
So there's a LeBron game worn jersey in the SCP auction, but it wasn't photo match. And this same jersey sold maybe 2 years ago. So rookie jersey was sitting at $5,000. So Cage was like, he had his eye on it. He's like, should I buy it? Should I not? I assume that the person who owns this tried to get it photo matched and he couldn't. I think the whole photo matching process, if you guys who are listening want to chime in, I think is absurd in general. They basically, you send the jersey to an authenticator and they look through photos of that year and they try to see what game that jersey was worn in by like looking at threads or like looking at like a pin mark on the jersey and saying, yeah, this jersey was worn in this date. It feels completely not like an exact science.
But there's a huge difference between
price.
Well, there's a huge between photo matched and so what's funny
it's
here,
more
guys,
arbitrary than grading.
What I will say here is this is an area I'm not an expert in, but it's something I'm paying more attention to. And what we're talking about now is, game used memorabilia. Remember we had Adam Rips on early on, and he's like, why should I buy a Trae Young card when I could buy the net from his debut game? And he put the net on his head, like you get closer to the player. And we've had a bunch of people say, why buy a Logo Man card when I can buy the entire LeBron jersey that has the Logo Man right here on it and the whole deal? Part of it is because cards have a history and cards have, I guess it's easier to authenticate them. Whereas game used memorabilia is almost always going to be an opinion. Right? I know PSA started getting bats in there, game use, and some of the game used bats are, very clear that they were used. There's player markings on them, but some of them are sort of like a judgment call. And then when you get to jerseys, which is what I was looking at in this SCP auction, I was looking at a specific LeBron James jersey that in the title of it said game used. Now, there's a difference in game issued and game used, right? Because one actually was used in a game. And then even if you get the opinion that it's game used, there are different authenticators who authenticate things differently. They look at it, they the best of our ability. And then sometimes the LOA will say may have been used in a game, even though the description of the auction says game used. And then you go a step further, there are different companies, Resolute or Mirrors or whoever it might be that has different types of photo matching. And I saw Golden had, I think it was last year, 2021, a LeBron rookie jersey road game that was worn in 2 of his first 10 games, like game 5, game 7, road game jersey. And I sold for $300 and something thousand because it had photo matching. Right, it had mirrors. It was great, like an A10, I think is what it was, and you could see okay.
Dig into the photo matching, please.
Well, what they'll do is they'll find photos, whether they are Getty images, videos, you name it, of the game itself, and in that game there'll be something on the jersey, whether it's a stain, whether it's a thread that's different, something, a pull, whatever it may be on the jersey.
A hole in the jersey next to the Logo Man, and they'll this hole is at the exact same spot as this.
And you can look at it, guys. Look this up. It's in the Golden auctions. The history's there. You can find this exact thing, and you'll see the pictures. And it's a side-by-side comparison where they literally, that's what it says, photo matching to this thing. On Wednesday, a lot of good LeBrons for sale in Wednesday's Golden auction, but the Maradona ball, the Hand of God ball, is something I think was Resolute photo match on there. It's a different company. I think they photo matched the ball.
Do they give scores? Do they say in our opinion, this photo matches 9.8 out of 10, and this one's a photo match, but it's a 6 out of 10 photo match? Do they have that kind of criteria?
No, I don't. The photo match is either a photo match or it's not.
It's either yes or not. Or yes
but and then different companies will photo match differently. You know what I mean? And yeah, you guys can take a look at it. PWCC had the sneakers. What was it? Kobe sneakers that were available recently, and they had a photo match, but it was a different photo match. And it's one of these things, right, where the more layers of it that I peeled off, the less I was inclined to jump into it because I felt uneducated and felt like I was the easy money at the poker table, where I was going to sit down with a bunch of poker experts who were just going to take my money from me. You know what
I
I
watched
mean?
Rounders this weekend, and one of the lines in Rounders is, if in 30 minutes you can't figure out who the fool is, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that line?
And it's true. The more I dug into it, the more I felt like if I buy this, I'd be the fool. Especially because, this particular jersey in SCP, it had a date written on the label. It was 11-1, which, by the way, would have been the third game LeBron ever played in. Not his best game. He played, I think, Sacramento in his first game. And I mean, making this jersey, if it was really from November 1st of 2003, probably a very expensive jersey if that's really what it's from, which was what made me, excited about the prospect. But the more research I did on it, and the more research I did leading up to it, I found there were no other rookie jerseys, road games or otherwise, that had a date inscribed. None have come up for sale. So that's a weird little add-on. You can't tell whose hand it is. It doesn't look like LeBron and an equipment manager. Like you'd expect if there's an 11-1, then the one that Golden sold 2 years ago where he played on 11-5, it should have 11-5. If they were going to be labeling the road game jerseys or when they were issued, or would have a date on it.
It was an inconsistency.
Now, that doesn't mean that somebody who got this jersey from him could have wrote it on. Like maybe he threw it into the crowd, or maybe he gave it to somebody. But once you start doing that, maybe this, all of a sudden it's hope rather than like science, and it's usually not a good strategy. Anyway, the company that did the authenticity on this, I emailed them before the auction ended because I was thinking about buying it. The same exact jersey sold in the same exact auction house, by the way, for double what it sold for 2 years ago. So it's now half of the price. And that also was a big pause for me, too. When I said to Andrew was, chances are someone bought it and tried to do this already, tried to go and photo match it, tried to do all these things and wasn't able to, and it's now trying to cut their losses on a fool like me who's going to try to buy into it and say, I'm going to get this thing photo matched, and it's going to be worth $500,000, and I'm going to 100x my money. Sure. Okay. Because life is full of those type of 100Xs. So anyway, I emailed them and I said, hey, what's the story on this one? The gamer opinion letter on it. Was this something you couldn't photo match? And they wrote me back and they said, no, it was only submitted for authentication and not photo matching. But, and they added this, please read the letter. We did not state it was game used, but a game jersey. It could very well be game issued or game used. We were unable to tell. Now, the LOA, you and I both read it, says may be used in a game. This is the fun part about this stuff. A card comes out of a pack and gets put into a PSA slab or a Beckett slab. You know what that card is. You don't have that in memorabilia. You know what I mean? And they said they would try to photo match it. It's never been tried. But then they added in another. I went back and forth with them, and they were very nice that they were able to, email me and give me this stuff here. And I said, look, it was photo match the whole deal. And they said in their notes, the jersey didn't have any provenance when it was submitted, which is what we were talking about, that 11-1. You'd like it had to accompany by a letter that said, hey, my neighbor was the equipment manager in Cleveland. He got this from LeBron after his third game because LeBron only scored 8 points in a season where he averaged 20, and he said this jersey's bad luck, and he threw it at the equipment manager, and this is where he got it from. Like, I've seen that kind of story with game-used bats that PSA, will authenticate. My dad was the grounds person, or my dad was an electrician, in 1955, and, this bat was thrown into a rack and, he picked it up and, took it home and he's had it ever since. Like anything like that, a story, right? Like whatever the deal is. And he basically made it clear there was none of that. And we went back and forth again, and he added his final email was, I'm a firm believer if it has good provenance, then I would recommend submitting something like that to be photo matched. So I read the email combination. There were like 4 or 5 back and forth to be like, all right, guy.
Well, you're not going to find provenance now.
Sometimes if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Maybe steer clear of this one. That was kind of where my take was. Like,
and let's be clear, this isn't a terrible jersey. This is a game.
No, it's a great jersey.
This is clearly a jersey he would wear in a game. It just there's no
proof that he did.
Correct.
Yeah, and that was a fun little rabbit hole to go down for me, guys.
Maybe we'll have those gentlemen who authenticate on the show.
Sure,
and learn more about Game Worn. It's a segment I've wanted to start for some time.
Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, it's definitely something, as the clock is ticking on an auction, I don't want to, go too crazy, like, oh, wow, I'm going to hit this. But the SCP guys, I mean, just a crazy auction. You want to talk about like record prices for stuff. And it's something that you don't see too often, right? There was the gold medal for the Miracle on Ice. The U.S. hockey team, a gold medal for that. Obviously, the Miracle was actually in the bronze medal. I think they played Sweden for the gold, but the gold that came out of that 80. So for $375,000, excuse me, $375,000. There was a Muhammad Ali's passport that was taken from him by the government when he refused to be declared for the draft and go to Vietnam. That sold for almost $100,000. A Type 1 photo of Babe Ruth, I think from 1920, sold for $153,000. Type 1 photo. I mean, there were some cool things in this auction that set record prices. So, I mean, and there weren't a lot of auction things in there. Only like 70-something pieces in the whole auction. But I like watching those type of things. I like watching some of those auctions that, it's mostly vintage and stuff like that strikes my fancy. But yeah, you got to go down that rabbit hole with me. And you're like, just buy it.
It's fascinating.
You're like, just buy it. You can't lose.
Well, let's walk through it. What I said was, because of this podcast, because of our network, Cage might have some resources and relationships that the person didn't have.
Yep,
so,
perfect. And you're right.
Even assuming that this person did try to photo match, maybe they didn't know the right person to go to. Who knows? So you have that. Second thing is, if you do photo match it, you are able to make a come up. And if you don't, you just submit it to auction and resell it and maybe lose like a buyer's premium.
Well, the funny thing that you said that was the smartest thing of all, and you sell yourself short, is that this photo matching and the ability to do this stuff, it's an evolving industry. And even if you couldn't photo match something now, there's a story that may come up. There's photos that may be, found. There may be some more digging, some archaeology that happens in a year or two. This happens with bats. This happens with, with other game used items. It happens all the time. And you're like, wow, look, I was at the game that day. Look at this angle. And you see the stain on the 3 on the jersey. It's right there. There he is on the court against Portland on November 1st, matching it up with the number on the jersey.
Oh, look at that. Portland, Clyde Drexler ripped his jersey. And this was one of the backups that he put on for the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. Yeah. And that's why it has 11-1, because some of the other, this was a backup jersey. Who knows? Any final words before we wrap up?
Well, I said a lot of words. But no, I mean, listen, Andrew doesn't like my post about Panini, so stick with the other post. Stick with the positivity. I know we're supposed to not say that because, content people that say positivity are full of shit. But I actually mean it, and it's not just about the hobby stuff. Guys, put yourself out there. You never know who you're going to inspire. I'm inspired by this handsome devil across from me. He looks like the Blue Devil, Duke with a big win.
Who's that?
You, man. You. The
Dukies They beat UNC this weekend.
Yeah, you show up every day. You deal with my lunacy, and you somehow deal with my audio issues and all the other crap that I bring to the table. And you put out what I think is good, free content for the folks out there listening. Big news coming soon whenever Andrew lets me talk about it. Bye, everybody. Peace.